How's it going, everyone? Kevin here at Roll On Gaming, and we've got a very exciting video for you here today because we got a press kit. That's right, our first press kit on the channel. Really excited to check out some of the new cards from Secrets of Power. So thank you so much to Jack and all the people at the Star Wars Unlimited team over at FFG for hooking us up. Right behind me, right behind this screen, we are going to be opening this pre-release kit, cracking it open to see what we can build from a pre-release, give you some ideas about what you might be able to build in your pre-release. We'll also be taking a look at the spotlight decks to see some of the special rarity cards that we think are going to be the most impactful, and also crack open those packs as well, because let's be real, it's exciting that you get a pack in the spotlight decks. So really excited for that. We're also going to be putting out a separate video where my co-host Corwin and I rip open an entire box of Secrets of Power, 12 packs each, and build a 50 card deck from those packs and play it against each other. So stay tuned for that. But if you like what you see, please feel free to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below what you're most excited about for Secrets of Power. So without further ado, let's get into the pre-release kit. All right, as you can see, we've got some goodies here from Secrets of Power, courtesy of the fine folks over at Fantasy Flight Games. We've got the spotlight decks, both Padme Amidala and Chancellor Palpatine. We've got a pre-release kit and a mat to go with it, the Chancellor Palpatine mat that goes with the spotlight deck. We also received a Thunderous Applause mat that you can't see behind you, but looks really cool. So thanks again to Jack and all the SWU team for sending us some of this stuff. Before we get into the pre-release kit proper, we are going to crack open these spotlight decks and see what we like about them. All right, so we've got both spotlight decks with the packs that came with them, both Jabba packs coincidentally, but that doesn't really matter. Let's take a look at the Padme Amidala deck first. What I found interesting here is the rares are put first. Naboo Royal Starship is a really nice one, especially for leaders like Bail Organa. So that's going to be interesting. Mon Mothma is a nice one. Moral Authority, I do find, may have some interesting applications, but not quite sure. And then Dismantle the Conspiracy there. And then we get into some of the special rarity cards. Furtive Handmaiden, 1 cost 2/2, sort of filtering your hand, discard to draw, but also obviously triggering Padme's ability. Bail Organa, the fact that you have 2 just in the spotlight deck, this is going to be a really popular card in a lot of decks, but especially in Padme. So that's good to know. Again, Jar Jar there, Mina, 2 Mina Bonteris. These are 2 command cards that are going to see a lot of play, especially if you're playing officials. So really exciting to get your hands on those there. Ahsoka, special rarity card. Really good traits, but it'll be interesting to see how much you want to action sheet with Ahsoka's ability. So we'll see what you get there. And then, of course, Anakin Skywalker, one of the best special rarity cards maybe we've ever seen. But certainly in this spotlight deck, you're going to have a lot of use for Anakin Skywalker. And then Captain Typho. Get your hands on this spotlight deck if you plan on playing Command Heroism, because Captain Typho alone will be worth it. Really exciting card, 4/4/5 Sentinel that lets you heal from your base. Just kind of a ridiculous card. Maybe one of the most impactful special rarity cards that we've seen. Mixing in a Keller and Beck, and then Sneaking Suspicion for some plot if you need it. Bogged down in procedure, and then a little bit of capture, and oh look, the matte art with Thunderous Applause. So there's that there. Interesting stuff from the Padme spotlight deck with Chancellor Palpatine. Again, you have a bunch of spies here, and then Partagaz, Palpatine, Newt Gunray, Rampart, Tragedy of Plagueis, and then you get right into the special rarity cards with Corrupt Politician. This one's going to be pretty strong in official decks. Again, another 1 cost 2/2. There's a Jar Jar. Chancellor Shuttle, another special rarity, but really only a card you're going to use with either of the Chancellor Palpatine leaders, the one from Twilight Republic and then this current one. So we'll see how, it remains to be seen how useful that one's going to be. ISB Shuttle, having 3 copies in this deck feels pretty good. There's a Political Bully. Masameda will be a popular one, I think. Cad Bane will certainly be a popular one. Again, you want to talk about power level. Cad Bane and Anakin Skywalker having these really strong special rarity cards in the Spotlight deck is something that really adds to their value because you're going to want to play Cad Banes. It's just a fact. It's a really good card. There's a Dedra, some more plots. I Am the Senate. This is the only place you can get I Am the Senate. So if you want to be creating spy tokens en masse, get the Chancellor Palpatine Spotlight deck. I really like Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser. Armor of Fortune is going to be another strong plot option. Just like Unveiled Might. Again, these upgrades are going to be pretty strong with plot because it really does affect not just your leader, but the cards surrounding your leader, giving them the best chance to survive. So let's see what's in these packs, and then we'll move on to the pre-release kit, starting with the pack that came with the Padme Spotlight deck. There's a Luthen Rail here. There you go. Apologies for a lot of auto-focusing. You know, just better than myself trying to focus it manually. So let's see if maybe there's anything in here that we can potentially add to a Padme Spotlight deck. Budget scheming, potentially. Emissaries from Ryloth. That could be another official that you could add. 5 cost 4/6. That gives minus on power. So that could be an interesting one. Another Bravo Squadron Fighter. I believe there's 2 in the Spotlight deck, so you could potentially make a 3rd there. 3rd Mina Bonteri. Again, this is a home run if you're looking to add to a Padme Spotlight deck. So that's a really good one there. Aggressive Negotiations doesn't necessarily fit in this build, but is one that's going to fit in a lot of builds because hand sizes are going to get a little ridiculous. And then a Mirage Sintel as our rare. This is a really nice one in Villainy official decks, or just Villainy decks in general. You can play this on round 2 with Dooku because it's a Separatist, and then a foil Endo Commission. So getting the Mina there is something that's pretty strong. Let's see what came in the Palpatine Spotlight deck. No Whammo showcases there, which is fine, but we did get a Hyperspace Spy token, which is always nice. Death Trooper was a reprint. Imperial Dark Trooper is one that's going to be nice to have in any command deck, so putting this in Chancellor Palpatine might be pretty useful. Again, we have a lot of the same cards that we just saw. In fact, it's almost the same pack. Jar Jar Binks, having another Jar Jar is never going to hurt. Now we get into the uncommons. Oppression Breeds Rebellion is a good one, and then Blue Ace is our rare with a foil Convene the Senate, which might be useful. So some interesting cards there, but nothing too crazy. But let's get into our pre-release kit and see what we can build from that. All right, we have here our pre-release kit, so we're going to go ahead and crack this open. Now this is going to have 6 packs in it. It's also going to have alternate versions of the leaders from the Spotlight decks, which are really cool because this is the only time you can play with these leaders in Limited. So we'll go ahead and take a look at those really quick before we crack into our packs and see what those hyperspace versions look like. As expected, they look great. We got the matching art there with Chancellor Palpatine and then Padme Amidala. Really good art on the Padme leader. You also get a nice little card here, a little divider. One of the folks in our friend group collects these, as well as, I'm sure a lot of other people. And then you've got your packs in here, as well as some punch and things of that nature. So we'll go ahead and set that aside and put these leaders aside, as well as options for our limited deck. And then let's see what's in these packs. 6 packs with which to build a 30-card deck. And we're starting with Slymore and a Cunning Base. So I'm going to go ahead and actually sort these by color to give myself a better chance. So we've got Unveiled Might, Defense Fleet X-Wing, another Command, another Vigilance. Bardot and Ornithopter is one that I like in Limited, just for the draw, but probably won't be super valuable in Premier. Krea's Whispers to be able to filter, a Supreme Council Aid, Unauthorized Investigation, and potentially create 2 spy tokens. A Xenos Shadow Fighter, not great, but hidden might help. A Vel Sartha could be a good one, especially in Limited. Attacking for 6 on 5, and giving exhausted enemy units negatives to power while defending. Lobot's a really good one. Sentinels are really good in Limited. We have our first heroism card, which is Kazuda, so that's a good one to get. I think Kazuda is going to be a really strong card. Fully armed and operational is our rare. Being able to give something ambush in limited isn't too bad. And then Let's Call It War could be useful if you have initiative to deal a decent amount of damage, as removal is pretty rare in the limited format. So one down, not really a direction in which to go so far, but we did get some decent yellow cards for Sly Moore. There's another villainy leader in Colonel Yularen with a command base. But we're going to continue to get some hero cards off the stock. Beloved Orator, Nimble Prowess is okay. Raxian Assembly is pretty decent. 5 cost for a 6/5 in limited is pretty good. There's another Shadow Fighter in hyperspace this time. Assassin Probe, Pursue the Lead. Making somebody discard might be useful. Emissary Sheathipede. We're getting a lot of cunning cards here. Crate Veteran is a heroism card. Outer Rim Constable, I think, is going to be the new Disabling Fang Fighter. 2 costs for a 3/1 isn't great, but being able to defeat an upgrade is. And it can do it for 1 less than the Disabling Fang. It's also an official, which is nice. More heroism, Renowned Dignitaries. 5/6 with Overwhelm on 6, and you can heal your base for each friendly official unit. Umbaran Mobile Cannon is also a nice one. 6 costs for a 7/3 that prevents damage. Uncommon Primor Personnel Carrier. This is going to be one that's going to be tough to get off unless you're building a lot of officials and official tokens, but could be a bomb in limited. And then a Dismantle the Conspiracy. This capture card is probably not going to be super useful in limited, but I guess you never know. At any rate, it's another command heroism card that we can take a look at. And then a Hyperfoil Jar Jar Binks, which is a really nice one. That's going to be useful in any potential command deck that we build, and also looks really nice. So that's a good pull there. I like that pull better than the rare, coincidentally. Looks like we got our first heroism leader of the packs, which is Leia Organa. It's not really one you want to see, but might be decent and limited because of all the colors available at your disposal with a command aggression base, rather. More heroism, Jade Squadron Patrol. Another with Thunderous Applause. I say another like I'm using the Spotlight decks to build a deck. I'm really not. The Lost Jedi there. ISB Agent Reprint. Inspector Shuttle. Academy Disciplinarian could be pretty good, especially because it's neutral. So being able to ready some of your smaller units. Catch Unawares, continuing with the cunning. Imperial Occupier could be good to create a spy token on defeat. Marva Andor, if you end up with a lot of rebels, which at this point it doesn't look like we have a ton just yet, but we are getting more heroism cards and villainy cards, which is interesting. Charged with Espionage. The Galleon could be a bomb, especially if you're able to disclose and get 3 spy tokens along with a 6/6 in limited. So that's an interesting one. This is going to be a tough one. Chairman Papanoida, while it's a really good card, having double aspect in limited is going to be a little bit tricky. So certainly not something we necessarily want to see when we're trying to build a limited deck, but there's a foil Senate Ward as well. So halfway through, not really a ton of direction to this point. We'll see what these last 3 packs offer us in the way of options. There's a Bail Organa. That could be pretty interesting, especially since we've opened a lot of command cards at this point. And then there's a blue base. So we have one of every color base, which is nice. Normally at your game store, they'll have extra bases for you to use, especially since there's no rare bases in this set. So it's not really that huge of a deal, but having one of each one is just a nice, nice bonus. So we've got Daro Commando. Knowledge and Defense, I think, is a good one. Being able to draw and give -2/-2. It's almost like the Make an Opening, but for drawing instead of healing, which I like. Diplomatic Envoy, Dogmatic Shock Squad could be a good plot card. Emissaries from Ryloth, again, we talked about when we were opening the other packs. That could be decent. Hut Cartel Starfighter, Reckless Rebel, and then so on and so forth here until we get to the uncommon. Sukatra Vizago is a really nice one, both in Premier and in Limited. Making your opponent pay 1 or else you're drawing a card seems pretty solid, so that's one we'll definitely be looking at. Populist Advisor, without some of the buffs that maybe Array would represent. I don't know how good this card is, but could be a Sentinel. A situational Sentinel if you so choose. There's Amita Bonteri, so already we're looking pretty good in command, which leads us towards Bail or Padme at this point, or Leia, I guess. And then a Light Maker, which is a legendary, which is nice to see. So again, continuing the trend of heroism, but this light maker is something that could be really strong in limited and premier. So we're happy to see that, and then an AAT incinerator to deal a bunch of damage when it's played. So right now we're looking like a heroism deck is the way to go, but let's see where we get with these last 2 packs. This looks like a villainy leader, and it is. There's a Dead Ramiro. So we've got some villainy leader options, but not a ton of villainy unit options. So it'll be interesting to see where we get. But we did get a Cruel Commandos there, so that's another one. A couple large units in command villainy. Congress of Malice there. Gonk Power Droid is one that's going to be really nice. So we'll keep that aside. Really, command is looking pretty strong at this point. Request, and we'll keep going here. Trade Federation delegates might be okay in limited. You know, the 5 for 3/4 is not amazing, but getting 2 spy tokens could be pretty good. Warrior of Clan Ordo, I really like to see. You know, 2 cost 3/3 if you're able to disclose. Feels pretty good. Despite the fact that we don't have a ton of aggression heroism units, it's going to be interesting to see what we have in terms of aggression neutral units. Junior Senator, a 2-drop 3/2, adding to the cunning, which I like. So right now we're looking at sort of like these 3 colors in heroism between command, aggression, and cunning. So we'll see what we get. And aggressive negotiations is a really strong argument for aggression, though. There's a Zam, a hired slicer, and a stolen Starpath unit is our rare. Not super useful as an upgrade, but could potentially get you some spy tokens if you're lucky with your guesses. And then a hyperfoil diplomatic envoy, which is our second hyperfoil in command, coincidentally. So last pack here. Again, things are fleshing out decently to trend us toward heroism. We did get another villainy leader. It's a hyperspace Dryden Voss. But despite opening 4 villainy leaders, I think we're going to go with heroism based on the card pool. So we'll just see what else we get here. Populist Champion 3/3/5 vanilla is actually a pretty good argument for vigilance. So we'll see what happens with that. There's Theed Security, which could be a decent 2-drop. Inter-Rim Coalition Hyperspace. Another heroism aggression card, which could actually help us out a lot. The Rebel Pathfinder reprint, Hunting Assassin Droid, Sneaking Suspicion. FN Trooper Corps is a nice one for plot. I don't know how nice it is otherwise, but we'll see. Oh, 2 Inter-Rim Coalitions. Okay, so that provides us some late game units, which is enticing. Kino Loy, and then a Cadal Conics could be interesting, and a Hyperspace Metabon Terry. So that's a really nice hit and pretty much locks us into command. So we're definitely going to be playing command, and we'll see what else we get from there. Eye of Aldani is a nice one. I'm not sure how useful it's going to be in limited, but really like the Eye of Aldani there. And then a foil, I Am the Senate, which is a special rarity card, which you can get in variants in packs. So that's interesting, but ultimately not enough to sort of sway us to the villainy side, unfortunately. So it'll be really interesting to see what we decide to make from this. So let's just go through. Let's get rid of our villain units. I don't think any of these are going to be useful out of aspect. I am paying 8 for 5 spy tokens is not really something I want to do. So I'm probably going to say no to that. I don't think any of these are ones I really want to pay 2 extra for. Not even the Galleon, really. I suppose fully armed and operational could be interesting at 3 if I decide to go cunning. But I don't think I'm going to do that. So we'll just take all the villainy cards and put them aside and see what else we can glean from this pile. 3 neutral only cards. Ando Commission is the only one that might be useful in a limited environment, so we're going to set that aside. I don't think Inspector Shuttle is going to do us any favors unless we just are in desperate need for 2 drops. So we'll go ahead and set that and the Assassin Probe aside for now. And then we'll see if we decide that Chairman Papanoida is worth the 5 cost for a 2/6 that creates spy tokens on Disclose. At this point, I don't know that it will be. So we'll keep the Endo Commission for now. We'll also keep a Rebel Pathfinder. We'll be interested to see if we end up needing Marva Andor. I don't know how many Rebels we're going to have. We'll keep the Crate Veteran as well. And I guess for now, we'll keep the Remote Escort Tank, although I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. I think of the leaders that we have at our disposal, it's probably going to be a toss-up between these three, because that's all we have, hilariously enough. So we just need to determine whether or not we want to run either of these with command, or run Bale or Ghana and run another color. So let's set out some of the cards that we have as I make a mess of some of my leaders over here. I'll just go ahead and set these aside, set these bases aside, and put these leaders up here. So from Vigilance, we have a 1-drop Populist Advisor, another Populist, which is Populist Champion, and then the Jade Squadron Patrol. So not a ton there. Let's see what other units we have in Vigilance. We have a 5-drop. We have the Senate Warden, Lost Jedi. So that's 2 2-drops. Umbaran Mobile Cannon is a nice one, and then Lobot is also a nice one. So we've got a decent spread here in terms of low cost and mid cost. I don't know how useful the relief request is going to be, but something like a nimble knowledge and defense could be really good. A nimble prowess, if we have initiative, could help us save an attack on an early round. And then Eye of Aldani could do some more exhausting for us. So there's some interesting options there. We're definitely going to be playing in command. So I'm not sure how useful Dismantle the Conspiracy is going to be, but I'll keep it in there anyway. And then we'll have our 2 Minabuntaries and a Theed Security and Beloved Order. What else do we have in the mix? I know we had a Jar Jar in here. Kino Loyal will make the cut. Gonk Power Droid will definitely make the cut. Daro Commando, Jar Jar Binks, the Raxian, a couple of these. I think with Thunderous Applause could be decent and limited. And then since we're probably going to have a lot of officials, we'll keep budget scheming there as well. Diplomatic Envoy, I think those remain to be seen, so we'll leave those aside. I don't know how useful those are going to be. When it comes to aggression, some really strong units, not a ton, but some really good units that could potentially do some damage for us. And also defeating some upgrades might be useful. So something to consider there if the units bear out in our favor, which we do have a decent amount as I go through here. With Warrior Clan Ordo, a lot of early units. And then if we're going to draw a lot, which at this point it doesn't seem like we're going to draw a ton, but you know, there's a world in which we do. This is something that can be very interesting. And then in Cunning, wow, brains are hard. Lightmaker and Junior Senator and potentially Emissaries from Ryleth could all be some decent cards there. But do the units help us out? Cicatro and Hired Slicer are not bad. Aside from that, Vel is pretty good. The Shadow Fighters aren't great. And the Sheathopede's okay. I don't know. It's really tough to say no to Lightmaker. Like that could be a one that's played out of aspect, even if I don't play in Cunning. But I don't know that the Lightmaker is enough for me to say yes to Cunning. It is a bomb and it is in space, which helps. But I'm just not sure how I feel about that as it compares to both Vigilance and Aggression. I think for now, these 3 colors are the ones that I'm going to be focusing on. So despite the beautiful Lightmaker, sorry Lightmaker, I think you're going to go by the wayside here. I may bring you back out of aspect, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And I think Marva Andor is probably going to be set aside as well for not having a ton of rebels. So we'll go ahead and set that aside as well. So let's go ahead and lay out our command cards by cost, and we'll see what we feel like we're missing when it comes to cost curve. All right, so we've got budget scheming. Let's make some room here. 5 drops, 4 drops, more 5 drops, more 2 drops. A lot of stuff on the lower end, which is interesting. And then Dismantle the Conspiracy, I guess, is okay. Beloved Order there. Okay, so we've got 5, really 4 turn 1 plays, because you don't want to play Jar Jar on round 1. So probably want to have at least double that, if not more. So So if we went with Vigilance, we would also have Populist Advisor, Lobot, and Lost Jedi and Senate Warden at our disposal, which is interesting. And then if we had Aggression, we would have Constable, Warrior of Clan Ordo, Reckless Rebel, and that's about it. So you'd be looking at 7 1-drops in a 30-card deck. Oh, also the Rebel Pathfinder, so that makes 8, which is not terrible. I do think that the strength of the units in Aggression is a little bit less in terms of the neutrals, but maybe the heroism ones might be a little bit better. In fact, I know the heroism ones are better when it comes to Interim Coalition, Cato, and Kazuda. So I think I'm going to go that route and see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and maneuver this over here so we can add more 2-drops. We got some 1-drops here. We also have Diplomatic Envoys if we really wanted to bring that back. Republic Orc Starfighter with Grit could be interesting. Aggressive Negotiations. More of these. Some upgrades for 2. Cato. Some more 6-drops as we put these here. And then Unveiled Might. Not a lot at the 4 cost range. So how many cards is that? Let's do some quick math. 21 here. 34. Okay, so Ando Commission would go in here. So this is 34 cards. We can, trim some of the fat here if we felt this way. But if we added 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. Here, what's our best 14 from Vigilance? Defense Fleet, Ornithopter, Lobot, Baron, Lost Jedi, Senate Warden, Congress of Malastare, that's 7. And then Knowledge and Defense, the 3 Heroism cards, that's 11. And then these would be 14, which, again, Relief Request, not sure that's amazing. I do think we go with Aggression here. That might be the wrong decision. If it is, get at me in the comments. I promise I won't be offended. Just kidding. Yes, I will. The last question is whether or not we want Chairman Papanoida. I don't think Chairman Papanoida makes the cut. I also don't think Diplomatic Envoys make the cut. Maybe we put in the Hyperfoil just because it's pretty. So let's go ahead and trim some of this. If my math is correct, we have 35 cards in here once I added the Diplomatic Envoy, so we need to trim about 5 of these. I don't think we need to Dismantle the Conspiracy, so right off the bat, see you later there. We'll keep these. We'll keep this as another 6-drop. I think I might have too many 3-drops. So let me go ahead and get rid of some stuff there. I also think I might have too many 2-drops. Do I feel like I'm going to have enough official units to make budget scheming count? Well, as it is, I'm playing Bail Organa. So that's an official that I'll be able to have a decent amount of. Aside from that, I have the Order, the Disciplinarian, the Constable, 2 Minas, Jar Jar, Ando Commission, Raxian Assembly, Coalition, and Dignitary. It's not bad. It's not bad. And if I guess if I'm able to give experience to 2 officials, this is actually decently worth it. I'll keep this one for now. And let's see what else we can potentially lose here. I don't know that Pursue the Lead is one I'm going to want. Ambition's Reward can also create me an official, so that might be pretty good. So I'll hang on to that. Reckless Rebel I want just as a 1-drop. And I could potentially use Bale's ability with that if I needed to. I don't know how useful AAT Incinerator Tank's going to be, so I think I'm going to get rid of that. It lowers my 5-drops considerably, but I also don't want to risk dealing damage to my base. So how many cards is that now? So that's 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32. Okay, so 2 cards left to cut. I think Diplomatic Envoy does go the way of the dodo bird, unfortunately. Again, just because I'm trying to trim some fat here, as are we all. Haha. And then let's go ahead and get rid of the Republic Oryx Starfighter. I don't love it as a unit, even though it's a space unit. It's pretty weak, and my space is actually almost non-existent at this point. I have no space units. This is my only space unit, which probably means I'm just going to get rid of it anyway, because, I'm just going to stay all ground and leave space up to the Consulator's Cruiser. So that's what I'm going to do. Republic Arc Starfighter is going to go away. Again, if I mess something up there, that's fine. This is all a brand new set, and I'm not super worried about it. But that's going to be the deck. We're going to play Bail Organa in Command and Aggression. And that would be how I went into my pre-release. So hopefully you got some valuable information out of this. If you just listen to me ramble this whole time, I really appreciate that too. So thanks so much for tuning in. Good luck at all your pre-releases, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks again.